apart from my agenda, is there anything that anybody is looking for in particular?
I really like that new lunge, if that fits in at all.
We're going to do a variation of that for sure. So yeah, we're going to keep it a tiny bit more basic than that, but we can integrate that on Thursday. Remind me because then we're going to get a good understanding of that.
Sweet.
Anything else coming to mind for anybody? We're all good? Okay. So I just wanted to start just by talking just about asana and what I've learned with 35 years of practice and being very, very privileged to be able to travel the world and study with people. And the people that I've always really been drawn to are usually women that are older than me that are injury-free and pretty epic at an older age, right? I want to be able to be in this body, happy, content, without pain until I'm not in this body anymore personally. That's why I started yoga, because I was in a lot of physical pain, a lot of medical issues, and so I started as a therapeutic practice. So I was very resistant for like the first decade, probably 15 years, to anything that wasn't basic and what I deemed as therapeutic. Obviously that shifted because I obviously have a advanced practice now. And that had a lot of benefit for me, getting over that mind block that I had to stay where I was and I wasn't going to do all that weird wacky stuff because that was going to hurt me. So that was a journey for me. But I'm going to be totally straight up and honest. I really believe that there is a way of practicing that is less conducive to injuries, and that is not going to max all the time. And I say this 650 times, and it takes 850 times for you to hear it. And I talk about this range all the time because we all have a different range and we all have different strengths and weaknesses. We all have different attachments, we have different aversions, right? Some people were given the teacher training book list, they had it read by week 2, right? Before we even started, when the list went up, they owned every single book, they've already read the books, right? Some of us still haven't read the books that we're supposed to read and we don't own any of them, right? And that's just who we are. But we have to find balance in who we are. Some people want to stand on their hands before they can stand on their feet. Some people who are so strong who easily stand on their hands or their head never want to do it, right? So who are you? Where do you fit in? What is your balance? And so for me personally, like the spectrum, say, let's talk about a hip stretch. For me, an advanced hamstring hip stretch for me is putting my foot behind my head and standing on one foot. How often do you think I actually do that, realistically? I don't remember the last time, it's probably been 2 years, but I could probably bust that out right now. You want to know why? Because I play at the right level for me on a regular basis, which is 50%, which is down dog with the leg lift. Funny arm stuff, right? Which is this. Like this is a nice basic asana for me. It does so much. I'm always able to put my feet behind my head because I can do that so often, but I'm not pushing my body every day to its edge, 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 edge. So this down dog is our edge, right? And for some reason we think we need to go to a class where we do down dog, 80% of the class. That's edge, 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 right? And then we never do, right? Or we don't do this very often. So we have to figure out what is right for us, right? And especially in a multi-level class. So if you think about it, we still have to do the absolute basics, which looks like we're doing nothing at all, right? To get the awareness and the understanding, right? A lot of knee injuries come from our ankles. The most basic, simple thing, to be able to consistently do all the other things without injury. So today what I want us to really focus on is doing a lot less, like a lot less. We are going to go back to let's learn how to actually do this, right? I mean, what do you think's better for me, honestly? Like me doing, bam, is that, it's not bad for me, but freaking easy. How hard was that for me? Not hard. Look at how hard I'm working here. I'm working so much harder here. I'm getting so much better of a stretch, and I'm really making my body stable and supported. Why we are so attached to these weird ideas in our head, I don't know, but we all are, right? I don't think there's anyone that doesn't have an image in their head that they're desperately trying to strive to achieve. Why? Because that image is always going to be further and further and further and further away. And so just being now and present and healing ourselves as we are. Does that kind of make sense? And so let's put that in our recipe today. Let's be really honest with ourselves. What is therapeutic for us? What do we need to learn? All right, so let's start. I want you to just take a we're gonna look at a couple things I want us to find in neutral pelvis. So if you can't see me, come a little bit closer. All right, so the first thing is outer trochanter. A lot of us are struggling with that. What is an outer trochanter? Anybody? Tell me.
So it's kind of that outer hip muscle where you're butting your thigh meat.
Mm-hmm.
It's super important for hip stability.
Yeah, what do you think it is?
It's a major attachment for all your glute muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the outer head of that femur, right? And so how important is it? It's so important. And yet how many of us actually know how to move it? And have done yoga for, how many years, right? So, and if you see me from above, this is me not doing my outer trochanter. This is me doing my outer trochanter. Look what happens to my sacrum and my pelvis. So this is what I would say was an outer trochanter push-up. How do I find it? Anyone tell me how I find it?
Thighs, outer thighs, front of the thigh, back of the thigh.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So many people are like, oh, I'm missing this one little thing, right? Oh, but it's everywhere. It's in my feet, it's in my knee bend, it's in every single one of my joints. If I'm not actively engaging all of it, then I don't get it. Right, look at my feet. They're dead and I try and just find this. It's not the same as if I find this, correct? If I find my arms, I get it even better. So it's again going slower and really paying attention so that we can find these little tiny microscopic muscles and connections so that we create this stability, this more structured alignment. Okay, so we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at pelvis here, all right? And then we're gonna look at this guy and we're gonna really find the outer trochanters here, right? So we're not gonna see the difference between that and that. What do you think is more effective? All right, so let's do it. Let's come onto our backs, have your straps and your blocks handy. Knees together, feet together, make a C. Come down one disc, one vertebra at a time, nice and slow. Back of the skull comes down. First thing we're going to look at is, are you straight? Is your nose in line with your navel, which is in line with your pubic bone? And then finding that neutral pelvis to start with, push into your elbows, lengthen your elbows away. I find it easier to find the outer trochanters if I straighten my legs. So straighten your legs, push into the soles of the feet, and see if you can find it. Inner thighs dropping a block, outer thighs squeezing a block. It really helps me to think flesh butt away from the low back. Go to that place where your thighs kind of meet your waist and it kind of indents and pull that to one another. Upon value, anal sphincter contracts and draws up. Think about the crease of the ankles going towards the heel. Think of the backs of the knees going towards the kneecaps. Think about the hip flexors going towards the butt. Think about the armpits lifting up into the shoulders. Think about the shoulders having back down into the armpits. Think about the elbow crease moving towards the elbow cap. Think about the wrist crease lifting up into the curve of the wrist. And then relax it, engage it. Relax it, engage it. Relax it, engage it. If you feel like you're not getting it or you want help, just say. Let's do 3 more. Yeah, it's a tricky one. So first find your feet. Yeah. Think about the knees lead up and then find this. Nice. And then let it go. Now find it. Yeah. Let it go. And find it. Stage 1. Perfect. You feel that difference? Mm-hmm. So if you can find that engagement when we're doing the hamstring stretches, kicking the gas. And then find it. Bend your knees. Knees and feet are hips distance apart. Find it again. Really find the outer trochanters. Find the legs. Think about the backs of the knees moving towards the kneecap. Think about the ankle creases moving towards the heels. Think about the armpits lifting up into the shoulders hugging the armpits. Think about the elbow creases moving towards the elbows. Think about the wrist creases moving towards the backs of the wrists. Engage. Imprint and arch, imprint and arch. So you're going to put your low back into the floor and then you're going to lengthen your pubic bone away from your navel. As much as you can. So as you go into the arch, you can pubic bone away from navel. And then you imprint, rooting that low back into the floor. Take the pubic bone away from the navel. Imprint, put your low back into the floor. Keep your feet a hip's distance apart. And then see if you can find that neutral pelvis where the pubic bone, hip bones are level and really maintain that. We're going to move our femurs. We're going to take our right femur, we're going to pull it into the floor. We're going to take our left femur, we're going to pull it into the floor. Take our right femur, we're going to pull it into the floor. It's a little bit different. You're sitting your sit bones. I'm going to help you. Just relax. Right femur to the floor, so you just relax. Try not to move anything if you can help it. One femur in, other femur in. One femur in, other femur in. If you put your fingers on your hip bones, you're going to see one hip drops, other hip drops. One hip drops, other hip drops. You feel that? So now see if you can do that without me doing it for you. But I don't want the hip bones to move like this. It's the third movement, and we want to be able to isolate all three. If you're having trouble, let me know. So you're sitting your butt into a chair. I want to the floor away from the floor. Nope, so this way. So femur in, femur out. Femur in, femur out. How's your knees?
Better.
Are you able on your knees or no? That's okay. We've got options. Think about the backs of the knees moving up and down. Hip flexors moving up and down. Is anybody feeling like they're not finding that hip bone moving to the floor, away from the floor? And then stop with a nice neutral pelvis, pubic bone, hip bones level. Isolate, sit your butt into a chair, sit your butt into a chair. So now we're going to shorten on one side as the opposite hip lowers, and then we're going to shorten on the other side. So it's like moving the thighs, moving the butt. So we're going to take the right butt away from the right shoulder, and that's going to create a lengthening on that right side and shortening on the left side. And then we take the left butt away from the left shoulder. That's going to cause a lengthening on that side and a shortening on the other. If we keep that stability in the joints and we try and keep that outer trochanter connection, we're going to be able to do it without the hip bones moving to the floor and from the floor. Can anyone tell me why this is so important? Anybody?
And we have awareness of our hips in every pose we want.
Exactly, and we can shift it, we can find the stretch, and we can stop avoiding when we're tight. We are all open in certain areas, we are all weak in certain areas, we all have different structures that we want to be able to shift and adjust. Stability, if you're overly mobile, and stretch where you're tight. Stop with a nice neutral pelvis, roll off to your side, and just sit up. So the hamstring is right here. Well, the main part that I like to think about moving, it goes down into here as well, but I want us to think about this part here. So I want us to think that the hamstring pulls in towards us and slides up towards the butt. So it's like it's coming forward and it's sliding up into our butt. Which way does the thigh go? The opposite way. If something goes this way, to keep the knee safe, something else has to go this way. If I'm just pushing this forward, right, and nothing pushes back, what if I just push my thigh back? What am I going to do? I'm going to really hurt my knee.
Hyperextend.
Hyperextend, which is, we see so much, because, you know, if we don't teach the hamstring and the knee to move forward, we get hyperextension. So first we're going to find stability before we find mobility. So we need to have stability in our pelvis. As soon as I lift this leg up, all of a sudden this happens. And I'm no longer stable, right? So I have to pull my left femur in, I have to take my left hip flexor down, and I have to think about lifting my kneecaps up, ankle creases to cap. So a joint, this would be the crease, right? This would be the cap. They have to push into one another. If they're just going one way, it doesn't work, it doesn't create suspension. If I just lift the back of my knee, I'm gonna kick my face, right? So I have to have something else to create stability in the center so that I can go up nice and light, nice and strong. So I'm going to create resistance for my hamstring. I'm going to find my neck and shoulders, right? So I'm going to have my shoulder heads down. My armpits are going to lift up. I'm going to find the length in the back of the skull. This thigh is going to be at a 90-degree angle. I'm gonna find my pubic bone, hip bones level, and if I can find this other arm, great. So my arms are working. And then without this hand moving, without that thigh moving, I'm gonna straighten and bend, really slowly. Do you see how hard this is for me? Watch this. What do you think's better for me?
Option A for sure.
Right? Like it's pretty obvious, right? So that is what we're gonna do first, right? And then we're gonna get rid of this, all right? And check this out. Right? This is extremely easy for me. I could do this for a really long time. Watch this. Look at how hard this is for me. Right? If I find my elbows, everything, I'm already shaking. And we're gonna find this going as slowly as you can. And I mean slowly. And if you're a fast person, I want you to go even slower. You see how my pelvis is not moving? You see how I have a lumbar curve where I could put a little tiny car underneath my low back, and I am not crushing that car, I am not squeezing that great. And this is where it gets hard for me. Carrie's like, oh my God, she's making me do it again. This is where because I rush, right? This is where I'm like, look at this, how hard this is. What do you think my knee needs? What do you think my back needs? What do you think my hips need? What do you think my ankle needs? That's stability, right? So let's look at that. Everybody's got a block, put your hands behind the knees, make it nice C, come down nice and slow, one vertebra at a time. Find your pubic bone, hip bones level, find your feet a hips distance apart. We're gonna take our block to our thigh, we're gonna get our elbows down, we're gonna have our hands rooting on something. And first with a very, very bent knee, push your hand into the block, push the back of the thigh, the hamstring, into the hand. Neutral pelvis. Push as hard as you can. Then find both shoulders, root them down. So crease, lifts into caps. Do your little checklist, find all of your joints, move the crease into the cap. Notice if that right hip bone sunk down, and if it did, you're gonna pull more into that left femur. Notice if you start to imprint into your low back. And so I'm gonna come a little closer here, that is level. And then think of this pushing this way. Nope. Push against your hand. Yeah, so that's what we need to find to be safe in like down dogs or forward folds. Nice. And then find your shoulders and your elbows. So root the elbows, root the shoulders, root into those wrists. Does anyone find this easy?
So this is elbow on the floor.
Let's find this foot. Yes, ideally both elbows are on the floor, especially with you. Let's do this. That's a strong arm. Nice. I'm happy to see that you're working that so hard. And then without the block or your hand moving, straighten and bend that leg. Straighten and bend that leg. Move it a tiny bit further away. Yeah, right there. You have to really pull the hamstring towards the block. Push as hard as you want. You get to choose the resistance you're doing, but at no point can I put my finger between that thigh and the block. Really push that hamstring into that block. Which way is the quad going? Winoa. Which way is your quad going? Towards the knee, lengthening the quad and hip flexor towards the knee. Which way is your hamstring going, Lisa?
This way?
Yeah, towards your butt. So it's going from the back of the knee towards your butt. We've got to get really good at saying these things, right? No one understands that way. Except you. Emily, but your students are not going to understand that way. Let's do this.
This is so hard.
I know it's good, okay? Let's do 3 more and then we're going to straighten to hold. Really common injury, right? Overstraining, overstretching the hamstring. So straighten it as much as you can without losing the connection. So if you feel that the block is moving away from you, you have to bend your knee a little bit. Yeah. So do less. So it tells me in your down dog, you're going to have to start with your bent knee, which I'll show you. Yeah. So the thigh moves away from the block, the hamstring pushes into the block. Let's point and flex that foot. Point and flex 5 times, 5 circles one way, 5 circles the other way. Keep those hips level, don't imprint your low back. Find that beautiful stability. And if the thigh is moving away from you, then you have to bend the knee. And that shows us what you have to do in down dog is bend the knee. Yeah, I'll just be your hamstring.
Yeah.
And again, because it's giving you trouble because of all the, the overwork, then just take a break or do less. You want to like a 2 or 3 out of 10 stretch. So go a little bit gently. You can bend more, take a break, whatever. And then find a nice active foot. Take your block, move it beside you. Remember, if it pulls into your back at all or feels too challenging, what do you do to make it easier?
Bend your knee.
Bend your right knee. Nothing else changes. The shoulders are active, every single joint is active, nothing else moves. Exhale to drop your ribs, keep your ribs down. Slower than you ever thought humanly possible. Bring that right leg down and up 2 times. Try and keep the weight even on the pelvis. Definitely keep the lumbar curve. Do not let your ribs pop. Really find that left ankle crease and root it down. Does anyone feel the difference in the lift in their chest? Because everybody's sternum bones look really open for business. They are crawling towards your throats. Do you feel that difference? Two and then hold it up. And then once you've done your 2, just bend it, interlace your fingers, and pull it in. And we'll do the other side. So a little bit of shaking is good. It's awesome. It means we're targeting those muscles, and if it feels like too much, it's too much, right? So just take a little break.
It's like good. I just, for some reason, I don't know if it's dehydration. I always thought it was dehydration. My body's just like.
No, it's building muscle. Yeah. It's breaking down a old muscle, building muscle, which is good. Some athletes strive for the shake. Some yogis strive for the shake. I like a little bit of shake, but it's thumper and it feels like it's exhausting, and then do a little less.
Don't really put one on my back. It's when I'm like in a balancing posture. But like doing okay.
Yeah, totally. That's when you bend your knees a lot more. And then you're like, okay, I got it. So those of us that aren't familiar with the neutral pelvis, when you're in that half hinge remover, see if you can find a neutral pelvis by lifting your thigh up into your hands and sitting your butt into a chair. And then the opposite femur is going to pull in. You feel that difference right away, hey? Good. Show me a little shift in that pelvis, Lisa. What do I want you to do? Yeah. Good. This comes in. There, you feel that? We still have the sternum bone, which is nice. Now your sternum bone is open for business, but you want to move the back side of the body. Yeah, there you go. And then let's do the other side. Let that foot come down. Let's take the block. Let's really find neutral pelvis. Then we're going to push our block into the left thigh. And don't start by going to a 90 with that left leg. Keep the knee really bent. And first find the resistance with a very bent knee. Get your elbows on the floor. Get your fingers up, if you like, almost like you're going to put them on your back, like a pincha or a shoulder stand or something like that. And then see if you can find all of your joints here. The crease of the joint moves to the cap, and the cap lifts back up into the crease. Like your heels are rooting down into a floor, an imaginary floor with the crease, but then the actual heel that's touching the floor is trying to lift up. It's like there's a tabletop on your knees and the backs of the knees are lifting up into that tabletop, but the tabletop kneecap is pushing back down onto the knees. It's like there's a pipe in your hip flexors moving towards your butt, but there's a block on your butt pushing back to the pipe of the hip flexors. It's like there's crutches in your armpits lifting up and sliding the skin of the armpit towards the sky, but the shoulders are gently rooting back down over those crutches. There's a pipe in your elbow creases moving towards the elbow caps, but the elbow caps are lifting back up into your creases. Remember, our knees are really bent. Knees are bent, Lisa. Find the wrist crease moving towards the wrist cap. Is anyone not working really hard here? It's humbling, right? Inner thighs dropping the block, outer thighs squeezing the block. Find those outer trochanter's, nail them. And then slow, start to straighten, start to bend without that left thigh moving. As you straighten, the thigh wants to move away from you. Because the hamstring does not want to stay strong in a stretch. It's too much work. The hamstring says, get me out of here, and it starts to retreat. Don't let it. And then slowly bend. The hamstring likes bending, so it wants to push you forward. Don't let it. Use your quad and push your quad using the hand to push back against that hamstring. A lot of us have the habit where our big toenails are closer to our knee than the baby toenails. Don't do anything where that big toenail draws back. Do less, but don't let that big toenail retreat. Sometimes we have to do a lot less to really find what it is we need to find to actually move forward. Exactly. Now find this guy and push him to me, to me, to me, to me. And maybe you just stay there. And maybe you stay there at home with your foot on the wall. Elizabeth had me tape little rocks here for like 2 weeks, which I don't recommend.
Okay.
So James, you see how that block isn't at 98? You see that? Yeah? So don't let the block move. So really use your mind to keep your mind in your body. This hamstring has to push harder. Don't straighten if it makes you move that block away from you. It's really good information for your body. Do one more and then straighten to hold. Don't go to that place where the thigh comes away from the block. Even if you keep a bent knee, it doesn't matter. Stability is so much more important than flexibility. And then once you're straight, flex and point 5 times. 5 circles one way, 5 circles the other way. Again, it's finding balance. You want to be evenly strong, evenly flexible. We want to roll with the punches in life, but we also want to have boundaries. And then once we find those feet, really active, big toe mounds, baby toe mounds, equal distance from the knees on both feet. Charge up those joints. I feel like my joints are floating in space, and then I just think about moving my joints. Everything else is still. Remove your block, place your block beside you, and then slower than humanly possible, go up and down 2 times. Focus on the joints. Keep the stability in the joints. The zigzag of the leg. Hip flexor to butt, back knee to kneecap, ankle crease to heel. Find that place of aversion. Is it coming up? Is it going down? What is hard for you? Do you think you should avoid it? Or do you think you should face it? Do you think you should skip it really fast? Or should you spend time there and really try and nail it? So this versus this, right? Because we want you. Big, heavy sandbags. Yeah. There you go. Inner heels dropping an imaginary block, outer heels squeezing an imaginary block. And then once you've done your 2, half hinge remover. And you can do a loosey-goosey half hinge remover just to let the hips do whatever they want, take some time there. But then find the pelvis, see if you can get it. So to get out of the loosey-goosey, we pull the right femur into the right hip socket. We think front thigh to back thigh, calf to shin. We sit our butt into a chair. We find our ankles, knees, and hips in a nice straight line. We keep the action in the elbow, wrist, and shoulder joints to keep the lift in the sternum. And release. Walk your feet as wide as you can with the knees touching for snowplow. Find that neutral pelvis. We'll just loosen that up a little bit. So with the knees touching, the feet wide, find the baby toe edge of the foot wide. And then just take your knees apart, point your toes out, and then just go back and forth with the knees, letting the pelvis do what they like. But keep the knees, feet, and hips active so that we're releasing the pelvis from that hard work, but we're not putting the knees at risk. If it tugs into our inner knee or our outer knee, we walk our feet closer to one another. Really thinking about the femurs, those thigh bones, think of the head of them that's inside your hips. Think about moving at the head of that femur and encouraging that femur just to kind of rotate inside the hip socket from internal to external. Let's go back and forth 3 more times. And then coming back to center, walk the feet to one another, roll off to one side, push yourself up. So, something I see a lot in life and in yoga is this, right? And we keep lying to ourselves. We keep saying, I can move my neck here, I can move my neck here, right? And we're over-hunching that thoracic spine. Does that make sense? Does this look familiar, right? And then we do this, it's kind of gross. So when we're doing yoga, we don't want to do this, either in our forward folds. We want to do forward folds like this. Do we want to do intense leg stretches like this? No, right? We want to mimic in yoga how we want our posture to look in life. So much better, right? Sternum butt lifted, armpits lifted, shoulder heads back, even sides from two sides of the torso. So again, it's just about changing habits. So if we're doing intense leg stretches, right? We're all at this habit, and I'm feeling like it's like we're getting a little bit too much like this, right? It's exactly what we don't want to do because we, for some reason, need to grab that foot, right? How does that look in my neck? And yet we will lie to ourselves for decades that this feels fabulous in our neck, right? So today we're going to feel what actually feels good in our neck. We're going to put our elbows on the floor. We're going to find all these connections. We're going to lengthen. Which way did the armpits go in relation to the hip flexors?
Away.
Yeah. So hip flexors going what direction?
Towards the bottom.
Yeah, which way are the armpits going?
Towards the ceiling.
Towards the shoulders and then towards the ceiling. Those are both right. Shoulder heads drop down. Root the elbows, root the wrists. This is a fantastic stretch if you're nailing it, right? You could even dig your heel in and really find the ankle stretch on both of them, right? But if this is happening, go back. Find the lefts where you can actually nail it, right? So much more important. And then second stage, we take the strap into the hand comes to the hip flexor, pelvis doesn't change. You could use your elbows to anchor today. Really create that resistance. Again, I see this all the time, right? Or even here without the pelvis lifted, you know? Whereas if I really nail it, I'm like getting it the whole way. What do you think my body needs? Just to go to my edge, where I'm like loosey-goosey and just hanging out? Or to really find it every single step of the way? What does our body do in day-to-day life? All of it. Right? Third stage, root your elbow. You can keep this on the floor and you're going to lift the sacrum, but the knee doesn't change, right? We get more, a little bit of a different stretch. So third stage, pelvis lifts, but the other leg doesn't change, right? That's how you nail it. And then we think about this sacrum as a sticker, and I want you to bring the sticker or wallpaper down so slow. One little bit, 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 so slow. And then I want you to peel the sticker or the wallpaper from here. One little bit, one little bit, one little bit, right? Not like this. What am I missing there? I'm getting no awareness into my pelvis or sacrum. Where does most of the hip, knee, back stuff come from? This area, right? So let's go super duper slow. You know what it looks like to peel a sticker so that you don't rip the sticker, right? So that's how we're gonna peel our pelvis. What's more effective? Sticker peeling. Slowly rolling out the wallpaper. The wallpaper of the pelvis, okay? When you're ready, you've got a strap. You're gonna come down onto your backs, hands behind the thighs. Make a nice C with your spine. Come down one vertebra at a time, nice and slow. Feet or hips distance apart. Are you straight? Is your pelvis neutral? Erica, what's your foundation in this pose? What's the base? Yeah, pelvis. So know your habits. Do you need to lengthen the backside? Do you need to find the sternum bug more? Do you shorten on one side? And then when you're ready, you're going to put the strap over the sole of the right foot, but you're going to do your best to keep the neutral pelvis. Nobody's going to straighten the left leg. Elbows and shoulders are on the floor, you're holding onto your strap, and you're using, not your trapezius muscles in your neck to pull on that leg, you're actually using your arm muscles. Use your joints. Laura, which way are your elbows going? Crease to calf, yeah, down and away. Which way are your armpits going? Up towards your shoulders, and then up towards the sky. Shoulder heads to the floor. Zip your belly. Find those creases. So think of a micro bend in that knee. So think heel crease to ankle, back of the knee to kneecap. You're gonna have to bend it for a while. Yeah. So hip crease goes towards butt, butt hugs hip crease. Back of the knee goes to kneecap, Kneecap hugs the back of the knee. You feel that difference, hey? Yeah. That little mini bend is gonna help you. Both legs, ziggity zag, ziggity zag. So if you're already past thigh at 90, you're already losing the hamstring, right? This connection. Remember the block? Okay, so if I find this really, really hard, do you think maybe you could work on using your mind to make this a little bit hard? I don't know, that's what you're here to try and do, right? Mind-body connection is so valuable, right? It's a recipe. I'm giving you a new recipe, which creates a little bit more balance in the body. So I'm flexible and I'm strong, right? And if I can find this extremely hard, what are you doing? I'm finding my muscles. I'm actually taking my hip flexors towards my butt and my butt back towards my hip flexors. I'm actually taking, I wouldn't be able to move that, right? I'm actually taking my ankle crease towards my heel. Actually bending my knee. I'm actually thinking of the resistance. Instead of just kind of falling asleep and doing it, I'm really being present in the now. And then I can find it. Just a little bit. Nice. Does anybody else feel like they're not finding it? You're getting it.
Is it better than I need to be, like, I'm just noticing that, so I should be.
6 of this, half a dozen of that, right? So what's most important is your base, your pelvis, yeah? And then you work as much as you want to work. If you want to work less, what does she do? Anybody, what does she do if she wants to work less?
Takes her leg away.
She bends this knee.
Yeah, rather than moving it down.
Yeah, I mean, both work. You could take it away from you, right? And that works too. But with you, for now, I would say bend the knee, because I would like more stability in the back of the leg. Both work. And then just working that hip, and if you want to take it away from you, take it away from you. Just play with it, see what works. And then taking both straps into the left hand. The right hand's going to come into the right hip flexor. And we're not going to let that right hip lift, but we're going to keep all the action of the leg. Don't let that leg come to you. Don't let that leg go away from you. Keep it just as active as you had it. And then nice and slow, take the leg over the opposite thigh. And if you feel like you need to walk that foot away a little bit to create space, you can. So these are all going to be so good for you, but like gentle, right? And the bend is perfect. How's it feeling? Hard. But no pain, right?
It's pulling also bend more.
Yeah, so bend more. Yeah. Or the other option is to work less, is to take the leg further away from you. Now see if you can like lift up your collarbones and pull your armpits and your collarbones apart. And then stage 3, peel the sticker. Really, really slow. Do not let the opposite leg move at all. Really keep it stable and just go to where you can go, right? You don't want to go to 10 out of 10. You don't even want to go to 8 out of 10. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So you need to find this big toe mound and root it away from the knee. Yeah, there we go. So if you think about it, the IT band is saying, hey, pay attention to me. So you're walking around like this. Where's the IT band? What's taking the weight? What's going to pinch? Make sense? So your major homework by next month, this baby's going to be level and you'll never have to ever go there again. Even if it just means for the month, just like literally being at the wall and just finding it.
Yeah, I've been working on it.
Yeah, it's great, it's coming. And you can't force something, but it's really going to be a lot better. So peeling, 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 and then slowly bring it back down, nice and slow. Keep digging your heel into the wall. Are you finding it here? Yeah, nice. Humbling, hey?
My eyes are so, like, can I move farther or is that too much?
Yeah, go for it. Do what you need to
Squeeze
do.
together so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and I move this way a little bit because I've got more.
Yeah, otherwise I'm
Force in
just
here.
getting
Yeah,
inner thighs,
totally.
which is good too.
Yeah, Depends on the day, right?
Oh, good.
And then once you're all the way back, bend the knee, and again, go as slow as you can. Everybody's working different. Bend the knee, half lunge remover. Go super slow, and just feel where you feel it, right? So many nerves get caught up in that pelvis. So Natalia and Carmen had good questions, right? Both don't take regular classes, so it's all new, right? It's finding muscles they're not used to. If it's too much, what do? They have two options. Well, no, what are the options? Just give me one. Yep, option number one. What's option number two? Say it again.
So I didn't get a question.
Oh, if it's too intense, one option is to bend the knee. What's the other option? The intense leg stretch.
Oh, back up on the strap.
Yeah, back up on the strap is the other option. So give yourself more space between the hands and the foot, right? So you can really find it, or bend the knee more. Do less. Always the answer is do less. Sometimes it's hard. How do I do less, right? And if you've imprinted, see if you can reconnect and find it. Just notice how the stretch changes. See if you can do your little checklist. And the recipe changes, right? Like what we need in life changes, right? When I was younger, it wasn't, I definitely put my foot behind my head and stood on one foot more often in my, 30s than I will in my 40s. But I also mastered it in my 30s, so there's other things to master in my 40s that are more important. When I'm 70, it's going to be different, right? I'm going to need different things. Release, and let's do the other side. So let's take that left foot up. Underneath the strap, find that nice neutral pelvis. Elbows on the floor, really find those joints. Try elbows on the floor and really find those elbows. Something to root into. Lift the sternum bug, find that nice neutral neck. Make sure we're lengthening the back body. Find that place where the joints are stacked or less. You can always give yourself more space between the hands and the foot. But really find that place where we're working. Yes, looking good. You could always, sometimes I like to flex the sole of that right foot and really dig that heel in, but lift the sole up and find that heel pulling towards my sit bone, find that ankle crease connection, and then I try and find it in the opposite foot. Sometimes that's too much. Tissue, are you okay? Outer trochanter's, that's your stuff. Yeah, this is where you have the trotters, you have one hand on the floor. And this is what was like less. Keep it going to me. There you go, now really find it in the heels. I'm not going crazy with the cross-referencing, so if you can find it, find it. And then taking both straps into one hand, so the right hand takes both straps, left fingers into the hip flexor. And if you need to adjust that foot a little bit, do, but keep it at least a little bit bent. Don't let the left pelvis lift as we take the leg over the right. intercantors. Yeah. Now stop imprinting and find your rib cage. Yeah. Root that elbow, lengthen. And bring the other elbow down and lengthen on that side too. So if we don't have a really strong stable pelvis, it's really hard to keep the length of the spine. Does anybody feel lost and needs help?
My left leg feels really, like it's not doing enough.
Right. Hamstring. Back of the kneecap, hip flexor to the butt, ankle to heel. There you go. So these joint connections are so good for you. And find this joint connection, lift up into my fingers. Yeah.
Oh, there's my calf.
Yeah. Lift up into your fingers. Move the crease into my finger. Yeah, there we go. So move the crease into my finger. So I call that the zigzag of the legs, the joints. Boom, boom, boom. And then peel the sticker, nice and slow from left side to right side. And it doesn't have to be huge. You can come out of these anytime you like. Some of us do this a lot, some of us barely do this, so really listening to your body. So I don't know, but it looks like you could work a little harder. Is that my mind or is that the truth? I have no idea. Push the crease to the cap. Push the knee, bend your knee a little bit and put, yeah, push. Yeah, this into this. Crease into cap. There you go. You feel that difference? Yeah. Yeah. And then crease into cap. Move your hip flexor into the block. Yeah. Okay. Move this crease into the cap. There you go. Okay. And then find them up here. Really find those joints. You know, you think you are. The knee crease is hard to find. Yeah. And then nice and slow, bring it down. Really slowly roll out that wallpaper. You don't want a single bubble. And then when you're down, half on your mover. No. Not in this. Yeah. Not bad for the left side. See if you can find it, if you're just going loosey-goosey. And then release. Let's roll off and let's come into tabletop position. And let's look at our shoulders. So let's everybody come in, because I know that it's a weird shaped room. So let's come so that everybody can see it, especially Natalia. This is good stuff for you. So we really want to be able to see this. So again, really common injuries are shoulder injuries. So let's see if we can find it from kind of the front. So index fingers point forward. What happens if I point my middle finger forward?
Internally rotates your shoulder around.
A little bit of the wrist internal rotation. And I'm open, but like someone who's tighter in the shoulders, right? So she puts her middle finger forward, right? You see how that, and it causes this to all internally rotate a bit and closes off her clavicles. And you see how it's way more wrinkly here, even without a lot of weight on it, right? Whereas the index finger forward, and then if you can push into the base of the thumb and the index, you see how it takes the weight out of that inner wrist, outer wrist. Right, so here, and it's like slight, right, but it's usually one of the first things that I help people find on themselves just because it's a really common shoulder jammy thing. Some people, like if someone's new and they're having a really hard time with it, I teach it like this, right, like a hockey stick hand. It's just a lot. What is that going to do to my shoulders? Okay. Right, versus right? It's just gentler. And I have open shoulders, but on someone who's tighter, like let's look at you. Can you take off your sweater? Put your middle fingers forward. So look at her collarbones, look at her sternum bug. Now do index fingers forward. Nice. Bit better, right? And then if I did this and I pulled her armpits forward, we get a little bit more. You see that's her work. I'm doing this song. Slight, but it would make, can you do a ton of stuff without hurting, feeling it later or whatever. So what we're going to work on is just external rotation, internal rotation, external rotation, internal rotation. You see how the weight moves on my hands? We all see that? Right? What do you think's better? Both. If something goes this way, something else has to. It's never one thing. If I just externally rotate, what am I going to do to my elbows? I'm going to get pinched nerves. My neck is going to hurt like the son of a gun. I'm probably angeling when I do it, and I'm going to F myself up, right? And I'm only internally rotating, I'm going to hurt my shoulders. So it's learning how to do both, and then finding your middle, and being able to be strong both directions so you can be neutral. Make sense? Shoulder push-ups, right? Are my elbows moving? Why? They're stable. So many people are like, so who do you think should be doing a down dog or a handstand? Stable shoulders. Yeah. So if I go too much, oh gross. Too much, just right. So I'm pushing down, but I'm pulling in. And it's really annoying because you're like, she says push away, and then she says pull your arm bones in, right? But that is what works. We can't just be one way in life or in yoga. We have to have that balance. We have to have that opposing energy. So let's try it in our own bodies, okay? So we're going to come into tabletop position. We're going to have our index fingers pointing straight forward. We're going to spread our fingers from there. So if I had sensitive wrists and I felt my wrists, what would I do? Lisa?
You could press into your fingers in your palms more, or
Yeah.
walk your hands away.
Yeah. So first thing you do, and she got it in the right order, which is awesome, is you find that suction cup of your palm and you don't let the base of the thumb and the index lift. So that's rule number one. And then number two, you push into your fingers and your palms. If you still felt your wrist, you'd move them forward. What would you do if you still felt your wrists? Yeah. You put your hands on height, right? Fingertips are pulling towards the palms. And then from here, let's find as straight a back as we can. We're going to externally rotate, internally rotate, externally rotate, internally rotate. Keep the weight back a little bit, especially if you're sensitive in your wrists. So here's this whole thing with the chair. So I don't want this to be a bend. I want you to bend knees, because we're bending knees. You're going to bend them as much as you can comfortably, and you can externally rotate, right? You can cat, cow. You see how I'm not moving my legs? Right? And then I can do hip circles here, trying to keep you. Are we ever allowed to feel our wrists in yoga? Are we ever allowed to feel our knees in yoga? No. So bend those knees for me, friends. Bend like us. Yeah, and then try and find a nice straight back. Ears or shoulders. So you're actually quite broad in the shoulders, so your wrist should be as wide, if not wider. And that's a huge one for, do you do vinyasa? You normally practice sleep for your shoulders. Oh, yoga. Oh, do you do Katoni yoga? No way, that's so awesome.
But like I was always told, even in Katoni yoga, that it's like you would do it this and then you go this way.
So we do, what I learned from Katona, especially if you're working with bodies that are injured, is very wide. Keep your fingers as wide as the mat. Yeah, your mat's wider. This is more of a traditional mat. Yeah. I don't teach rotating until you can do this first. I'm a little more cautious than a lot of Katona teachers. Yeah. And then find that just right. And then feel the humerus bone inside your shoulder socket, push into your fingers, push into your palms, zip your bellies, lift your ribs, and then just move that humerus bone in and out of your shoulder socket. So again, use your eyes, not your neck, and watch your elbows. Can you keep your elbows stable, or are they bending and straightening? Are they rotating? How's that feeling? Okay. Yeah. It's a little narrow, so let's even go. Yeah, if we can. Yeah, so we'll go. And it's we're not putting a ton of weight in it, so it's not a biggie, but it's good. Your back looks fantastic. And then find just right. So nice straight spine, zip your belly, natural lumbar curve. Let's exhale to curl the spine, think angry kitty. Let's inhale, shoulders back, sit bones lift, gazing up. Exhale to curl the spine, think angry kitty. Inhale, shoulders back, sit bones lift, gazing up. So what are our rules with wrist flipping? And you tell me, Mona. What's the first rule?
If you're not used to doing handstands, don't flip them.
Yeah, so if you don't do handstands, you don't double flip. So if you can't lift your feet off the floor, we don't double flip. We start with just, if we're used to this, if we can get our forearms to a 90 and there's no pain, then we can do the external rotation flip. If that's feeling good, we've done that for a while. What's the next stage, Lisa?
Just one.
Yeah, just one. Getting the wrist level, making sure we can keep that at 90, making sure we're not hyperextending. And then we make sure we do both. So wrist flipping if you want a wrist flip. Wrist back, yeah, so back. So yeah, you. Wrist back, so this is at 90, yeah. And then I want you to think about pushing them apart. And then stopping with a nice straight spine, let's point our feet, tops of the feet down, let's lift our ankles. We're moving the ankle crease towards the heel, zipping our pelvis. Nice circles. Again, watch the elbows. Are we changing the elbows, or are we able to keep them stable? If we feel our wrists, we back off. If anybody needs more padding, let me know. Push into the fingers, push into the palms. So I'm going to pause for 2 seconds. Can you relax here just a little bit? So too much, right? Yeah, there you go. So that's better. You feel that difference?
And so I feel the shoulders are very pointy.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So let's try and keep our backs nice and straight, lifting the ribs, zipping our bellies so that we're not back bending. Let's change direction with the circles. Yeah. Yeah. You're playing the edge, but it's good. So we don't want, again, too much, the middle. So what you want to do is use your shoulders too much and lift up like a cat. So it's sternum bug forward, armpits forward.
So,
But still pushing down. Push down more. Push down more. So you're doing the opposite of what I want you to do. Yeah. So you don't want these big angel wings popping? Nice. There you go. Yeah. And then stopping with those circles, let's do some rib circles. Let's drop the ribs to the floor, move the ribs to the right, move the ribs to the sky, move the ribs to the left, drop the ribs to the floor, move the ribs to the right, move the ribs to the sky, move the ribs to the left. Big, slow circles. Change direction with the circles. Are you turtlenecking or can you keep your ears with your shoulders? So you watch that we don't lose that, right? So don't think of the back bend, think of the humerus bone. Yeah. That's what you're feeling for you. So just think like that. Now move the sternum forward. Yeah. Move back. See, this isn't, yeah, there you go. I hope you find it. You put that difference in here. On that one side. How does it feel?
Feels good, it feels the same as my dog.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And handstands, right?
Yeah, I think I've been focusing a lot on the sternum, and I want to start focusing on more of an external position.
It's not big. The salt's in every part, right? So if we like, oh, my sternum would fixate, does that make sense? Then we overcompensate, we just use something else, right? It's good to have like a mantra, but it's just not one thing. It's everywhere. And then stopping neutral, let's tuck our toes. We're gonna flip our hands back to neutral. We're gonna come into a puppy. So toes are tucked, knees and feet are hips distance apart, sliding those hands forward. Index fingers point straight forward. Spread your fingers away from that. Push into your fingers, push into your palms. And really create space from your hip flexors to your wrists. So we're gonna flip this on you. Well, we don't have to flip it, just put your hands higher up. No. So ears with shoulders, but not forehead on the floor unless it comes down easily. So is your neck too short, right? Are your ears super close? Does it feel jammy? If that's the case, give yourself more space by pulling the arm bones back into the body. So Laura, what do you have to do to get rid of all those wrinkles? I'm gonna come back to you. Yeah, there you go. So let's think about the wrist crease lifting up as we push through the fingers and the palms. Let's think about the elbows pulling from crease to cat, cat hugging back onto the crease. Let's think about the armpits lifting up into the shoulders as if there were blocks there, and then you're pushing those blocks forward towards your ears, and that's your connection. But the shoulders push back down onto those blocks. And go slightly more control neck, so your arms are with your ears. Nice. Let's take our hip flexors back towards our butt hugs back onto those hip flexors. Let's take the backs of the knees to the kneecaps pull back away from the floor. So feel like you could lift your kneecaps off the floor, but the crease of the knee keeps pulling it down. So when I was here last time, you had it, but then you lost it. Rest whenever you need to rest. Feel the ankle crease moving towards the heel hugging back onto the ankle crease. Zip your belly, lower abdomen lifts up and slides underneath your ribs. Floating ribs come to one another and lift up. Lengthen from both wrists to both hip flexors. Lengthen from wrist to elbow. Lengthen from elbow to armpit. Lengthen from armpit to hip flexor. Lengthen from elbow to hip flexor. Lengthen from hip flexor to back of knee. Lengthen from ankle to back of the knee. Lengthen from ankle to hip flexor. Lengthen from ankle to wrist. Lengthen from knee to wrist. Lengthen from right hip flexor to left armpit. Lengthen from left armpit to right hip. Do you need foamies?
No, it's just.
Yeah.
Works. You can find it here too.
Same thing. What am I going to tell you to do? Lengthen from right wrist to left hip flexor. Lengthen from left wrist to right hip flexor. Lengthen from right wrist to left ankle. Lengthen from left wrist to right ankle. If you need to rest, rest. If this is already at your edge, stay here. If you want to do a little bit more, lift your knees and keep them as close to the floor as you can and just reconnect. Ears with shoulders, armpits lifting up. Visualizing balls in your armpits and your outer shoulders want to wrap around and move those armpits towards your ears, but they're still stable. The elbows don't have to change. Let your neck go a little bit, Laura.
Is it cool?
Yeah, just relax a bit. So as bent as they can, knees. And then slow as you can, keep all of those tug of wars happening as you start to straighten out the legs. So slow. Really feel the leg joints pulling in different directions to straighten. Keep those arm joints pulling in different directions. Keep breathing. And if you get these arms getting active, it's really wired. How you feeling? Yeah, rest whenever you want to rest. And then left wrist, left hip flexor. Right wrist, left hip flexor. Left wrist, right ankle. Right wrist, left ankle. Wrist to hip flexor on both sides. And let's see if we can do 10 more breaths here. When it looks great, just let your head go. Just let it relax. See where it arrives. Ears right with the arms. Neck neutral and chilling. When those 10 breaths are complete, come down, take a nice child pose. Let's add a little mantra. With each exhale, let go of what no longer serves you. And with each inhalation, draw in the opposite of whatever it is you're letting go of. Exhale to let go. Inhale to draw in. So balance, we can't be happy all the time, we can't be sad all the time. Balance is when we're a little bit of both. Accepting the challenging emotions, accepting the emotions that we label as being good. Aversion, attachment causes much suffering. Unnecessary. We're all going to suffer. It's how we are in that suffering. Yin and yang. Back and knee moves forward, kneecap pushes back. Strength, wonderful, needs flexibility. Flexibility, wonderful, needs strength. The yin to the yang. 10 more breaths here. When those 10 breaths are complete, we're going to come up. Let's see if we can match our mantra to every single one of those 10 breaths. So hands underneath the shoulders, nice inhale to come up into tabletop position. So the most common things we see with lunges are the knee going past the ankle, right? The knee going in and out like that, right? So those are the sketchy ones. So we want to keep the knee tracking the ankle, and we want to make sure that the knee doesn't go past the ankle. Those are big ones, right? The other thing we see a lot of is like this. Right, so if people don't keep that shin straight, they're never going to open up the hip. Right? The other thing we see is this, right? Doing a lunge with one hip back, one hip forward. It's a different pose than warrior, right? We're looking for more of like a dragon lunge where those hips are level, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to use a block. So if I'm stepping my left foot forward, I'm going to walk that right knee back. I'm going to take the blocks, and depending on my size, some of us obviously need blocks underneath our hands as well. We're going to put one block there. For me, one block there is just right. I look, I make sure my ankle, my knee, and my hip are in a straight line. I make sure my ankle, my knee, and my hip are in a straight line. I measure, I make sure my shin is at a 90. I don't cheat, right? Because if I'm cheating, it's not so fun. You can be on your fingertips, palms, or blocks, but I want to see extension, no tension. We can shake our heads for no, we can move our arms if we wanted to, and then we're going to find those nice dog arms that we've been working on. Pushing into the feet, some of us are maybe going to come up, some of us are maybe going to bring those arms up, okay? Big tendency that we lose the outer trochanter's, right? So we have to pull one hip flexor back. This butt comes forward to hug this hip flexor. Really think about sitting your butt into a chair to keep that connection, right? So then my shin stays level, my knee keeps tracking my foot. One day, I'm going to try and get the sole of that foot to a 90-degree angle with the floor, but most of us are going to stack it just a little bit more staggered. All right, to come off, lift, down. So we'll start with just a lunge, then we'll look at some twists and some other variations, okay? So when you're ready, let's start in a tabletop position. Have 2 blocks, 1 block, 4 blocks, whatever it is you need ready. Index fingers point straight forward. Find a nice straight spine. Toes are tucked under. We're going to step that right foot forward. So first thing we're going to do is make sure the right shin is at a 90. You're then going to walk the left thigh back. You're going to lift it up, and you're going to stack whatever you need underneath that thigh. What do you think that's doing? So you need more height. Just a little bit. could even go smaller.
Can I come to
I'll
a
show
lunch
you.
without being?
It's up to you, you can also do it here. This is a really good option.
Okay. Oh my God.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense.
All right.
Just walk this in,
Oh, I see.
step it down, put this back up. Right? Does that make sense? Either or. So it's making you find stability, it's making you level out your pelvis, it's making you find that hamstring.
This is too high for me, I think.
Yeah, you're just too low. Same one.
Oh, like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Too high, Laura. So why do you think it would be too high? Hands on the floor, sweetie. So let's get this foot a little bit further forward. We can go lower for you too, I think. Let's try that. It's not gonna be a block. Hold on. I'm looking at your thigh, your left thigh bone. Right thigh bone. Up here. Like that. There we go.
So I'm pretty much leaning on it.
What's that?
Am I leaning on it? Do I need to lean on it?
You tell me what you think you're doing. What do you think you're doing with that block? What do you think your front thigh's doing? Erica?
The back side.
Squeezing away from
The
the
front of the thigh is trying to lift away from the block. What do you think the back of the thigh is doing? Pushing toward the block. What do you think the right hip flexor is doing? Pulling back. Yeah. What do you think the left hamstring is doing? Moving forward. What does that do to your hips?
It lowers them.
And stabilizes them. Let's go hands a little bit higher, Fran.
Up here?
Yeah, up there. And then try and get rid of the hunch in the back.
Okay.
Bingo, girl. It's also creating a boundary. What's your knee doing in that back leg? Bending. Energetically think about
Is
bending
the
it.
walk too close to my knee?
And it could be higher.
So it feels like it's touching it a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
not
and let's go
sure.
higher.
Not too far.
And then you're gonna be able to bend it nicer.
Yeah.
That's way better. Yeah. And then you might even be able to get the sole of that foot flush with the wall.
Do I need to take my foot farther back or?
Yeah, toes would have to go further back. Yeah. As long as you're keeping the hips square.
Oh, that feels better than that
Yeah.
immediately.
Just breathing here. Kind of too low now. Move it back a tiny bit. And you either stay here, or maybe your hands come to your thigh. Zip your belly, don't let the knee move in or out. Really pull those outer two planters to one another. Maybe your arms go up. Shoulders, armpits. Find all your sticks in all your joints. Zip those bellies.
Might shorten on the left side a little.
You're twisting a little bit to the right. Bam, right there. That's good. See if you can straighten out that back leg a little bit by pulling your knee forward, back, knee forward, ankle back. Sure, if you want to. So think about the back of the knee on the right leg and the ankle of the left leg pulling apart. So you feel this is twisting. Yeah. So this hamstring's got to pull forward and this hip flexor's got to pull back. Now find your ribs and zip, 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 zip. I want you out of this low back. Up, up, up. There you go. And then nice and slow, let's bring those arms to the floor. Nice. And then just remove the height. Step it back. Take a puppy or a down dog. But really finding all those connections in either puppy or down dog. You could do bent elbows. You could also do a 3 one's good. Remembering this is always a nice rest too. So anything you want to do, but just see if you can find connections that we're talking about in whatever pose you're doing, right? That's a goodie for you. And it's a goodie with bent elbows too, right?
I think like I just my hips are tired, like my glutes and
That's so weird.
that's
so
really
good.
super off.
You're doing great. Yeah, hold on. Take a break, come check out Laura. Stay. Stay. I want Erica to work on this. Tell me what you think is going on here. What do you think she needs to do?
Just to drop her upper arm up back into the shoulders.
Wait, don't do anything, just tell me what you think first. Yeah, that's a goodie.
Bend your elbows a little bit. Am I supposed to be doing it or
Yeah,
just?
do it now. You can do it now. Bend your elbows, pull your upper elbows back in. Nice. And then like move back in the neck. So the big thing with her is more, and this is exactly what I want her to get, is they're both so strong, right? But they jam right here, which is okay when we're young, but you know, Laura's pushing 70. So she's gonna lift up into the back of her skull, she's gonna lift her armpits up, and I want her to move her armpits forward like she's trying to slide the blocks that way. Yeah. And I can just put my hands right up in there. I'm gonna lift my armpits up, you're gonna push the armpits down, now broaden the elbows. Yeah, but keep the rotation, now come down onto the blocks. Good, now relax it a lot. Yeah, there you go. Nice. See, think about moving the skin of the armpit forward. Yeah. Think about moving the skin of the armpit forward. Like this is coming down and wrapping. There we go, she got it. So wrapping from here, pulling it apart, right? She always wants to do 10 out of 10. There we go. So now relax it like 20%. Beautiful. So you see how that just let go, right? And you see how it really opened up her neck. That's nice. Hey Laura, how does it feel for you? Yeah. So now lift up your head just a tiny little bit. Yeah. Does it feel freer?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now see if you can shake it just a little bit gently. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then bring it down. So we can probably, even with her, because she's released it, come in a little closer, give yourself some more space, lift up, and try a higher height. But don't quit your habit. Yay, look at that. Lift your chin away from your sternum a little. There you go. So she closed her eyes and opened her eyes. Where is she looking? Yeah. So if we're looking right, one looks straight down so the neck is neutral. But way better right here. Good stuff. So that armpit forward, right? So you think of this versus this. All right, so let's look at the other side. When you're ready, left leg's gonna step forward. You're gonna block up the right leg. So from tabletop position, using height if you need to, step it forward. You're gonna take your blocks. We're figuring out what we need. And you're just gonna support that right thigh this time. Eventually, one day, heel of the hands is in line with heel of the foot, but it doesn't have to happen today. If you can take the sole of the right foot so it's in 90 degree with the floor, go for it. Most of us, that's a little bit too intense. So it's angled with the thigh, and it's not close to the knees. Yeah. It's not square, remember it's on an angle. It's balancing so that they both work equally. Knees and feet are at hips distance apart, using blocks if you need to, underneath the hands. You're gonna like, yeah, help us with it. Nice. You can move back into high sit. That's better. So much better. There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this foot needs to go a little bit out. Yeah, hips distance. So really find those outer trochanter's. The shin's not quite straight. Let's bring that foot forward a little bit. lifting off the block. Yeah, and what direction does the front thigh move?
Forward.
Towards the knee. Yeah, for you it's forward. I guess for everyone it's forward. No, left. Right is moving back, left is moving forward. Quad moves towards the knee. What's the hamstring doing? Yeah. Both hamstrings are pulling towards the butt. Reach into both knees. So crease to cat, cat hugs crease. Inner thighs dropping the block, outer thighs squeezing the block. What I like to do is put my hand right here and really wrap those fingers around. If you put your wrist right here, it's a good place because I'm going to use the fingers. Calf moves forward. Hip flexor moves towards the butt. Hamstring balances out the hip flexor. You stay. When you're ready, come over and look. Just remove your blocks and take a look. Okay. So, you tell me what you see first.
Elbows. Shoulders.
So just tell me what you're seeing. So,
so
teaching her.
inner elbow to outer elbow, more external rotation of the shoulders. Try to pull the upper arm or the humeral bones more into the sockets and broaden collarbones, broaden scapula.
Okay, pause. So where do we start? Where's the best place to start? What's the base in this pose? And it's weird because it's not necessarily what's on the ground. Pelvis is the base, right? So first I would find her feet because they're the ones touching the floor. Those are the roots. Just find her feet, right? And then we're going to fix her base. It's hard for her to do anything until we adjust this base. So when she's starting to adjust it, which is nice. So what would you do with the base?
Pull the fingers into the pelvis, find that your canters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one hip slightly higher.
Yeah.
So lift right thigh a little bit more.
Yeah. And it's a
But
lot,
still,
but she
like,
can
yeah.
handle a lot, right? She can. And then what about her spine? Let's go on to somebody else. Tell me what you see with their spine.
There's a little bit of a curve in here. It seems to be right here.
Yeah. And then how about lengthen on two sides? Is it the same? Which side is shortening, which side is bulging? Shortening, bulging, really jamming here. And look at her ears, right? Look at her neck. Look at her ears in relation to her shoulders. And again, we're just going to bang it all out. Here's her tailbone. Her neck is way over to one side. Right? So what's the first thing that you would adjust here? I would make her pull everything in and give her more of a boundary. So bring this foot like just in, bend that knee. Yeah. There we go. So back of the knee, yeah, square this. Gotta get this base, right? And already it's so much better. And then I would say lengthen, hip flexor to knee. Which way does the knee go? Which way does the hip flexor go? Sorry, I'm touching your butt. If you don't want me to touch, you say, right? You know. Nice. Let's see if we can get that shin straight. She's gonna have to walk her foot in more. Yeah. She goes way too long. She plays the long game. Yeah. There we go. So now she can get her shin straight, her pelvis level. Okay, let's see if we can get the shin straight, shin straight, shin straight. Nice. Let's come up onto our fingertips. You're gonna sit your butt into me. You're gonna lengthen from armpit to hip. Cha-ching. So lengthen from armpit to hip. Just your ribs, not your whole spine. Nice. And then which shoulder is further forward? Yeah. Now find a neutral neck. There you go.
So is it because she's so tall that her knee is way back under her head? So
What's that?
her knee, is it because of her height?
No. See how far back she is in this heel? It's because she's not moving the back of the knee forward enough. So she needs to lengthen that knee forward. But Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, but that
What do you think matters the
most?
most on her? What do you think? This. Yeah. Because this is where she holds her pain, right?
Could you give her blocks under her hands?
I totally could. Yeah. Fingertips are okay with her because she's strengthening them, but yeah, blocks on hands are probably really good. And then she could probably find that knee a bit better. So calf to shin without losing this. Yeah, better. Yeah. And then we move our whole body this way if we could, but we're not gonna really do this. Because what's important is this. This one's yeah.
This hand can come forward a little.
Yeah, and that evens them out. She twists a lot. How's it feel?
Good, it's like it's a lot stronger and working a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like we could keep going. We could keep going on anybody, but that's enough. Like that's a lot of information, right? The big ones for her are elbows, joints. You always have to check her joints, and then once her joints are safe, which is smart, you got elbows and no elbows. She has and then we just get this. And I bet you after a while she'd be able to move this foot back a little bit, and then put her hands on the floor. When she lengthened, right?
Just looks so different.
It's
It
so
looks
nice.
so different.
Yeah. So then see if you can come up like that, and everybody go meter. Go do the pose on your own. So when you're ready, you can start to lift your hands.
Okay.
If you want to, or you can just hang out. So same side, coming up if you're coming up, staying down if you're staying down. Still here, yeah, it works. Yeah, lots of blocks. And this guy's an ankle. Let's do that. Really think, yeah, you're good. Add out your canters. Let's see out his shin. Alright, so you're gonna bring that foot forward. Nice. And then coming down. Remove your blocks, step your back, child's pose, down dog, whatever feels like a neutral pose for you. So you can get down dog on the chair or child's pose, the version that you're doing, whatever you like. More champagne hybrid. You see? So this is the ball, it's lifting up into the shoulder, and this outer armpit is trying to push that ball forward. Nice. And you need a lower block. Until we get to this, we want that lower block because this needs to be down. So if you close your eyes and open your eyes, we'll be looking at. Move it forward. Yeah, you need to move your forehead forward, your chin forward.
What is it?
Yeah, so now so close your eyes, open your eyes. I'm gonna tuck your chin a bit. With that, like close your eyes and think I'm just gonna open my eyes naturally. I don't have to look at anything. I'm not trying to close them.
Okay.
Like really close them. And just take a minute and let your eyes look neutral. Now open. So you're not looking straight down at the floor. Yeah. So let go of the goal and just be with what is, right? Alright, so tension. Let's drop it just a little bit. Just a wee little bit. Nice. And for today, just for the release, let's drop it. I like both, but it's nice to do both. Nice, and then lengthen a little bit. Nice. So we came back in. Do you feel these wrinkles? Do you feel this, Jeremy? So go back to the start, and I'm not going to walk you through it because you know it. You just did it. But I'm going to give you a hint. Yeah, too much martini. Too much champagne. So 10 more breaths.
Michelle, could you talk about the fingers and the wrists in this one for a second?
Yeah. So tell me what you think is happening first, because I bet you know.
I feel like I've got tension, especially in these ones, but I'm trying trying to find,
Crease to cap.
yeah, but both directions.
And sometimes in order to learn something, we have to work a little too hard, right?
Yeah.
So now just try hard, less. So you want to think about the wrist cap lifting up, wrist crease into the cap, cap rooting down, and then you want to go to the knuckles if you're being really refined, and crease to cap gently, right? Not 10 out of 10, way better. You feel that difference?
Yeah, that's way better.
And then find your elbows and find your armpits. Think about the outer armpit that's furthest away from your ears, pushing down into the block and trying to move that block forward. Move the block forward. There you go. Relax in here.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, just really relax right here.
I don't know why I just want to cramp those pinky fingers.
I know, because you like to work really hard.
I want them to be strong.
Just right, because it's not depleting. But sometimes we have to work too hard to know what too hard is. So now look at all this gorgeous lengthy creating in the back body. Doesn't that look good? Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say, neck can go longer, and I bet you if you closed your eyes, took a minute, and opened them naturally, they'd be looking a little bit towards your knees.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
quite a bit. Is that too much?
Yeah, they need to look straight down at the floor. Yeah, so you want a cervical curve.
Yeah,
You
that's
want to
good.
think of your neck as a soap dish. It needs to hold a soap. And so many of us, especially hard workers, like Erica's doing the same thing. Not we're all hard workers in different ways, but people that work a certain way, they just overdo the neck.
It's actually tingling.
Yeah.
Neck.
Because the energy can go there now because it's not tense and blocking in. All right, well that was a long 10 breaths, but it's been 10 breaths.
Well, thank you.
Michelle,
I'll come next time, okay?
next time, we're doing again?
So when you're ready, back up. We're gonna go right back into the lunge. See if you can do it without me. And then from the lunge, we're gonna find a twist. So right foot forward, left leg back. See if you can find your lunge. Making sure your feet are hips distance apart, giving yourself that space. Making sure the ankle is a leaning block. Taking whatever height you need. Really finding that tug of war. And then I like to put my right hand on my right knee and find the crease to cap. And then find it all through my armpits and my shoulders. I also like to externally rotate my left arm so that my fingers are pointing out to the side. If I was a wrist flipper, I could point it back. And I want it to be a hips distance apart. So my right foot is a hips distance apart from my left foot. My left foot is a hips distance apart from my hip and my knee. And then I can either put my hand finger pointing back or finger pointing out in line with that hip. And then I'm going to squeeze my outer trochanter's outer thigh. So we really splay into these poses. So pull it into your spine and then find your pelvis, right? Find your feet and lengthen away from the pelvis without those legs moving. And then twist with the hand on the knee. Find that neutral neck. So those of us that were told that we were chin tuckers and we were looking down towards our knees, really neutral neck. You've seen your habit. Notice your habit, observe your habit, put that into the recipe. So outer thighs squeeze in. And then maybe the arm goes. Maybe it doesn't. So you feel this hip is forward, this hip is back. There you feel that difference. Now I'm going to hold your thigh. We're going to lengthen through here. Shoulder back. Bring your elbow out. Yeah. Spine. Get your head. Yeah, there we go. Lengthen. Wow, what a difference, hey? You feel that difference? Should I be doing with the elbow? That's like in or out. That's better. Yeah. So, no. Yeah, bend it. Now bend it. Yeah, there you go. You need more stability in those joints, so always think bend, and even a physical bend for a while is going to make a big difference. We just need that stability. And then gaze down, arm down. Let's swap sides. You want to take a dog in between, do. There you go, that's gonna feel a lot better. So remember the hand on the twisting side, so some people do different sides, but most of it's the right hand, pulls in so it's in line with the foot. But we keep our feet at hips distance apart, yeah. And then that right hand becomes a foot, in your case it's a left hand. And you find the same rotation. If you know you're super bendy in those elbows, you bend them. So let's see if we can fancy the shin. So you're hating this because I'm making you find your hip as opposed to just your hamstring, which is open. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Hand on knee to start with. And then really twisting, really find the armpits, find the elbows, lengthen through the two sides of the torso. And then twist. Noticing if the thigh knee is pulling towards your neighbor on the left, and really think about pulling this all in. Yeah. Outer trochanter's connect, outer thighs squeeze in. Erica's gonna stay, we're all gonna check it out, don't do a thing. If your wrist gets tired, move it away from your ankle. You nailed the neck, this is what I love about you, is you nailed the told you last time. So now we can fix something else, not fix. Some people hate word fix, I like word fix because I don't want to be perfect, I don't want to be perfect. So, what do you think of her base? Yeah, her left hip's higher. So where do you start to fix that? Where would be the point? Where's the root? So the root for that would be your feet first, because the roots touch the floor. Yes, we're going to fix the sacrum. So first thing I look at is this, right? So she's going to pull that heel back, and she's going to lift this front thigh up off that block. So she was doing too short, right? Nice. Look at that, like a wall. Okay, so that fixed a lot, right? It's probably never going to be completely symmetrical, and it doesn't need to be, but it definitely changed her back. So now let's move, circle back. What do we see? Yeah. So we're shortening here and we're bulging here. It definitely decreased as soon as we messed with the pelvis, but it's still there. And here's her tailbone, where's her neck? Yeah. So from here, where do we move? She's got her legs, right? We check those. She's working them. Her shin looks straight, her foot looks good. She could move this a little bit forward if she wanted to. There we go. So then we first look at this, right? So I'm gonna like take her and I'm gonna move her in a little bit. Let's bring this hand in a tiny little bit, and then let's lengthen the two sides of the torso. There we go. Keep lifting this up. Nice. That's nicer. And then she's angel winging a little bit, so we're just gonna see if we can find a little relax through here. Nice, and lift up out of it. Nice. So front left rib, cha-ching, pushes back. Bottom right rib underneath her shoulder blade pushes forward, correct? I'm holding her pelvis, she loses the pelvis, so we go back to the pelvis. So what did I just tell you that you did with your neck? You look at your knees, Clara. Yeah. So horizon. And then release. So the big thing, see with their feet here, which I didn't notice right off the bat, but I saw as soon as I was messing with there. This foot's in line with your pubic bone, and that foot would be in line with your hip. So if this foot was here, we get a much nicer release in the neck. Right? Because her hips aren't quite open enough remember to do it on the tightrope. Done. All right, so everyone's done the twist on 2 sides. Everyone's feeling comfortable with that? This next one isn't for everybody. So if it's not for you and you've learned something, just work on what you've learned and let's just see. So the big thing is feet and hips distance apart, really pulling the femurs in, finding that stability. You gotta really find the hamstring here. And then you just wanna lift up that foot. I have to really pull on the joints. Right? Like I'm really pulling the femurs in. Right? And I'm gonna bring it down. And you can hold it as long as you want to hold it. It is not easy. It's a lot of suspension. So I'm thinking right knee to left hip, right hip to left armpit. I'm keeping my spine perfectly in line. Right? If that's not achievable at this moment, or attainable, or whatever the right word is, do anything else we've just learned. Down dog, child's pose, twist, lunge, whatever you want. Dealer's choice. Otherwise, you're going to do the leg lift. So when you're ready, tabletop position, we're going to step that right foot forward. We're going to make sure the feet are hips distance apart. Why? Because it's more stable. It's easier. When we do intense leg stretches, why do we take our feet hips distance apart? Because it's easier. Right? When we do forward folds, why do we take our feet hips distance apart? Because it's easier. So what do we do when it's easier? We can find more connection. Alright, so then supporting that back leg if you want to, or not. Really pulling the femurs in, finding the tug of war of the joints, hip crease to armpit, right knee to left hip flexor, left armpit to right hip flexor, and just see what happens. This is good stuff for you, hey?
I like it already.
Yeah. Pull that hamstring into the block.
This is like magic for my quads.
Yeah. Two more breaths to play. It hurts unless you're on an angle. It is. Yeah.
Tissue.
It's a little too deep.
I'm pulling her.
Better, hey? So now, let's get this. This is what's more important. So this hip has to lift, this hip has to drop.
And does that have to do with the height I'm on, or does that have to do with?
That has to do with your connections. This is what you do with that.
I feel like the second that I do this, I like lose my pulse. But the second I
Then find the hamstring. So what you're doing is you're letting the weight drop into the block, right?
yeah.
So level. Yeah, and then so what you're doing is you're really shortening and twisting as you come up, which is okay here, but when you learn to do it in the back bend, that's not going to be great. So I'm going to be your other canter, and you're going to do it without kicking me.
So that's good.
Yeah, so don't let this drop. You feel like that's dropping?
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. And that's, yeah. I love your videos because I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for me. It's good for you. Yeah. Shoulder heads. So maybe just, yeah. There you go. Have your canter. Let's see what you can do. This
So proud you can.
I know, because you're muscling. Yeah. So what do you think's better? Not to do it. Yeah. Other side when you're ready. So now think, right? So I'm doing Ekapada Rajapaktasana. If I can't come up like this with my ribs level and I have to do this, what do you think that's doing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't come into it that early. I always come for that.
That's good.
If anything, I just drop it.
Just watch the twist. Really watch the twist. easier if this foot's a little bit wider, just a tiny bit. Yeah. Yeah, and then pelvis in. So we need to straighten that, I think, and just keep it a bit.
Yeah.
You know, just so we don't have to keep revisiting. Yeah. So find the length in the two sides of the torso. Watch that we're not angel winging into a shoulder blade because we're lifting that rib cage up, lifting that hip up. So it's a lot of front thigh pulling away from the block is what you need, maybe. Yeah. There, that's nice. You feel the ribs nice.
Yeah. So what side do I shorten on?
You shorten on the side where you're like lifting this leg, which is the tendency, right? You twist to lift this leg because you're really strong up here. It's just overcompensating. So when you do it, think lifting your ribs up. Yeah. Now try. When you back bend, that's what you need to do. This has to lift, not twist. So you see how you use your muscles and not this strength to bring it up? Yeah. The blocks don't lie. Nice straight. Looks good. Keep breathing. When you're done, you're done. So we're gonna look at you again. You want to
I want to hold this one, right?
So if you need to bring your foot down, do. If you need blocks under your hands, let us know.
Okay.
So just try, yeah. So what's the first thing we look at? Pelvis. What's her pelvis doing?
This is straight.
Look at this is way high, this is way low. You see that? Even her pants are telling us that's the case, right? So what do you think is she needs to change? Shorter. Yeah. Pull it in. Put your foot down for a sec. And I want you to pull your femurs into your hips. Physically pull them into your hips. Oh. Now she has to memorize that feeling because she keeps losing that feeling, right? So it's like this, and then the outer trochanterics are going to keep her stable. And see how that already lengthened out her spine? And if you, let's see. Try that. Pull this back. So every move she makes, she loses it. Literally. So she literally just needs to work on getting straight. And that's all she needs because we gave her too much bloody information. So what am I doing? I'm pulling her hip flexor away from the back of her knee. And I'm just making her straighten out a bit and screw everything else. She's not going to remember any of it. And that's the trick to really good teachers. It's like 2 pieces of information is enough. 1 is enough, really. So just hold that. And then if you want to lift it, but don't lose what we just gave you. All right, so we've done both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's look at it without the blocks. Really quickly, we'll go through all 3. How are we taking time? Yeah, we're good. All right, so again, take a rest whenever you want to take a rest. Right foot's going to come forward, using blocks, not using blocks. Let's come into just the regular old lunge without the height, but using all that wonderful information that the blocks gave us. What's that? Yeah. And everybody got one piece of the puzzle, right? Everyone knows what they're working on, correct? Anybody feel like they don't have a piece of the puzzle? You do? You're looking pretty good. The cute's just stability.
I'm just trying to stay straight.
You're doing great. It's looking really nice. And that's the best thing to say because your sides are so dominant, right? And then see if you can take the hand in, so it's a foot's like a hip's distance apart, it's acting like a foot, and then come into the twist, but come into it slow and don't lose what you just got. Flipping the wrist if you like. Nice. So yeah, this armpit, but then the shoulder relaxes. Yeah, Nice. Really reach into those joints. Out your canter, out your canter, there you go. So, oh no, stop, wait with me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your thing that you're working on? Lengthening the back side, you're bulging the front side, so this is gonna go with that. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big difference, hey? Now think of all that stuff you just learned from Eric's neck. Ears away from shoulders equally. Yeah. I think the foot wider for this distance is gonna make it easier to find the little pieces. Yeah. Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's easier.
I think find the rib connection here. Yeah, now lengthen the back body, Lara. Yeah, now move your hand forward. So it's gonna affect everything, right, to find your back. Yeah. Too much, too less. Yeah. Yeah, find your ribs. Yeah, lengthen, lengthen. There you go. And then unwind. Let's drop down onto that back knee. Let's come into a lower lunge with the knee on the floor. And this is where we really start to splay. So this is where we really gotta pull those femurs in. Hands on block or not, totally optional. Pull those femurs in, find the tug of war. See if you can lift that back knee. If you've got the back knee, see if you can bring it up. And then just see, without the hips changing at all, without the ribs changing at all, just see where that gets to. But really go slow, right? Just like we really backed off to get the intense leg stretch, do less. Yeah. So go shoulder, bring this knee forward a little bit, and really find the injecting of the femurs. Inject, inject, inject. Feel that difference? Yeah. So you want to do less for a bit. And down. And then let's do that on the other side. Taking a down dog in between if you fancy. And then when you're ready, left leg's gonna step forward. Really keep the hips distance apart, right? And then find the length for the torso here. You're prepping for a twist here. Coming up with the arms if you want to come up. So we lost that. We see how this is. So think about the blocking there, so you're going to keep all those connections. So instead of moving the foot, what I want you to not do is lose the hip. Because you do this as opposed to this. Right? What do you think this is happening me for? You keep avoiding it, right?
Are we coming into the twist, Michelle?
Yeah, twist when you're ready. Keeping that hips distance apart with the hands and the feet. So go a little wider if you can. And then let's move this forward a little bit. Yeah, done. Nice. Nice. And then lift this off the block. Yeah. And then root the hamstring down onto the block. And the sole of the foot is nice. How does that feel?
Feels pretty good.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you a little bit of, yeah. And then let's get rid of all the wrinkles in the neck by totally going neutral. Yep. And then with the neutral neck, twist so much nicer, hey? Less pinchy. So you feel this guy bulging. And lift this guy off the wall. Sit this guy down into a chair. Yeah. And then let's straighten the spine out.
Oh, so it's this side.
Say again.
It's this side.
It's the self is everywhere, right? So it depends on twisting. So the side that's gonna grab the foot neck of the pata is always gonna shorter than that. Does that make sense?
the side.
You can see it depends on the other side, it would be the other one. Yeah, so feel it, you can't memorize it. It's impossible to memorize, you have to feel what shortening feels like. Because if you memorize it, you're gonna memorize it wrong and do the wrong thing. Does that make sense? And you're gonna teach it wrong too. You have to feel it. Yeah. There you go. Because memory always fails. Because seven people see one thing, they remember it different. And then bring it down. Right, into a lunge. I like top of the foot down, finding an up dog foot, really keeping the feet that hips distance apart. Right? And then see if you can lift that without anything else changing. So it's about stillness, it's about nothing moving except for the ankle creases lifting to the heel and winning the tug of war. But everything else stays the same. We don't twist, we don't move, we don't lose the shoulders. And if we have a habit that we're trying to memorize, we really make sure we don't fall into that habit. And then we think, okay, do I twist? Do I pull my pelvis back? What is my staff? And then I really stick with my staff as I slowly bring it in. If I go too fast, I'm going to repeat my habit.
How do you keep it from hurting your knee?
Pushing more into the back foot or adding more padding. Or taking a break, because this is a marathon.
Do it on the other side.
I know, but that's okay. Let's try this. Let's go feet truly a distance apart. That'll help. So wider.
Wider.
And yeah, that guy a little wider. Now try. Hold those fingers in. And don't do it. Yeah. Nope, nope. And when it feels the same, coming out, back into the hand dog. So here, I would come down and start my puppy and find, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Nice. And then child's pose, just a nice gentle child's pose. We're gonna be here for 10 breaths. Exhale out what no longer serves you. Inhale to draw in the opposite. And then let's look at seated forward folds. All right, so again, this is the posture we're going for, correct? Ears over shoulders, no big hunch in our back. We've got our natural thoracic curve, but it's not overdoing our thoracic curve and maybe our other curves too. So again, blocks. Those of us that are teaching, I think that even anywhere you can say, bring 2 blocks, right? So let's find wide-legged forward fold. We're going to find the center of our sit bones. We're gonna find our heels in line. We're gonna put blocks underneath those thighs. We're gonna grab onto our knees, and we're just gonna find this. Shoulder heads back, armpits lift up and forward, finding energy in all the joints. And stay there with your neighbor, twist on your mat, do what you gotta do to have the space. So we see this all the time, right? So really find the center of the sit bones, bring your fingers outside your hips, think about that outer trochanter connection. Crease of the heel towards the heel hugs up towards the crease and pulls towards your butt. Lift the knee crease off the floor, root the kneecap down onto the floor. Hamstring pulls away from the block and towards the butt. Quad pushes down into the block. Then again, find your armpits, lift them up, relax the shoulders down, move the skin of the armpits forward, take the shoulder heads back. Elbows active, wrists active, and just start to come forward, bend beneath the hip creases. Back doesn't change, legs don't change, shoulders don't change, and you come down with that nice straight back. Ears with shoulders. Pull those arm bones into your body, move the armpits forward. Laura, lengthen the front side of the body. Move your front armpits away from your front hip flexors. Yeah, there you go.
Can you please repeat the hamstring?
Hamstrings, okay, it's tricky. So the hamstring is lifting up away from the floor, away from the block, and it's sliding from the back of the knee towards the butt. That is the healthiest way for your hamstring to move, right? So traditionally, if we're just pushing down and trying to straighten out the knee, you know, eventually it's probably going to give somewhere on the attachment points, right? And it's a really, really common injury. So this is just taking a step back and learning how to lift those hamstrings up and lengthen the spine. Shoulders back, yeah.
How do I lift them up?
The hamstrings. So it's body awareness, it's going to come with time. So let them go, and then dig your heels and lift them up. Right? Try and create space between the hamstring and the block. Let the hamstrings be heavy in the block. Try and create space. It's everything. I can't lift my hamstrings up without my ankles, knees, feet, but you know, does that make sense? Everything is everything. It's not one solution, right? If we're being a bitch, it's not just I'm gonna stop drinking coffee, I'm gonna stop being a bitch. Right? Maybe if I don't have that time bottle of wine, it might work, right? But Steven's grinning over there.
Might be a good start though.
I have to really look at why I'm being a bitch. Something's obviously missing. Same with your hamstrings. It's not just the knee lifting or the thigh pushing or the heel digging in. It's all of it has to work together to really get it.
Okay, start with digging the knee, right? And then connect them, you know?
Start with like active legs and then just think about lifting them up. So your first point is bend your knees in everything and make the muscles work. Because you're actually very mobile in your hamstrings, like there's a lot of flexibility there. Strength is more the stuff you want to work on, right? I made Lara work with a bent knee for how long?
Oh, so.
Yeah. But now she, you know what I mean? She has no more knee pain. And she had that knee pain for years.
I could feel it when I walked.
So I feel it right here, right now.
Yeah, just keep doing it, it'll work, I promise. I'm getting there.
But right effort, right? So you're not gonna go from like not doing it to doing it like,
Yeah.
you know, all day, you know, but just when you can. Like for example, at work, like when you're standing behind the counter, a little bend in your knee. But definitely when you're doing a yoga practice, always bend your knee. And just when you can remember, bend your knee.
Okay.
All right, and again, eventually you can come all the way down and keep like the ears with the shoulders, you know what I mean? Eventually it's like you have a straight back. You don't even need it anymore, right? But that is harder for me than just doing it flat, because it makes me work. All right, let's try straight legs. So we come our legs together, bring it together, move it. 2 blocks together, thighs, feet and hips distance apart, find the center of the sit bones. Sometimes it's really nice to pull the flesh back. And then either grab the knees to find the knee connection, put your fingers to the floor, but really think about lengthening. Outer trochanter's connect. And then sometimes if you've got the space, you can even grab the blocks and pull them into the hamstrings. And then start to find the elbows. And you know me, I teach belly to thighs. I don't let you go down to the floor unless you can keep your bellies to thighs. You only straighten your legs if your belly is touching your thighs. Find the elbow creases, find the armpit creases. Keep lengthening, keep reaching. You could do a lot of cross-referencing here, but we've all had a lot of information, so we could use me talking a little less maybe. Let's just go 5 more breaths here. How does it feel, Miss Talia?
It feels
Working?
hard.
Yeah. And then when those 5 breaths are complete, we're going to come up, we're going to ditch the blocks, we're going to give those legs a nice hug, just maybe rocking from side to side, relaxing the shoulders. Doing some circles if you want to do circles. So remember, workshops are a lot of one thing. It's like when you want to make the world's best chocolate cake and you taste all the chocolate cakes, right? Then the next day you don't want to see chocolate cake for a while. So you're going to feel things, right? Especially things that you really worked. So hot bath, take it easy tonight. Number 1 ingredient to hip opening is don't go picking any fights because it will be your fault, not the other person's fault. So if the socks are on the floor, the compost is still there, don't say anything. If it still bothers you tomorrow, bring it up then, but don't bring anything up tonight. Just lots of water, tea, a glass of wine is good, a bottle of wine is not good. We store a lot of emotional tension in our hips, and don't make the same mistake that I make all the time. Be mindful. Own it, right? And then nice and slow, bring one foot down, bring the other foot down, find that nice neutral pelvis. If you want to have support underneath your knees, you've got the blocks to slide underneath your thighs, or you can straighten your legs one at a time. Arms out beside you, palms facing up. Let the shoulders relax, let the eyes close. Slowly, gently starting to wake up your body from the inside by deepening your breath. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Nice big inhale to stretch your arms. Exhale to let your arms fall down heavy. Starting to bend your knees, walk your feet towards your seat. Slowly rolling off to the right. Nice inhale and arm strength to push yourself up. Let's come to a comfortable seated position. Let's end with 5 ohms before we dedicate the merit of our practice. May we use this class to be mindful that if we continue to look outside ourselves, we will continue to search. It's when we look within that we find answers. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your practice. Namaste. Namaste.